Welcome to the HyperPod. Today we have our friends at Hyperswap, Ryzed, and Poelpe. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. I mean, you guys are the largest Hyper EVM DEX. How does that feel?
I will say that it feels great. It's like we're happy to see that the community enjoying the product and using it. So I would say that's the best thing that can happen, that really the community using it. And there's a lot of people that's supporting us. So I would say that so far it's a great experience. It's really cool. And we'll still have to do a ton of stuff, but it's for us on the backside. But yeah, definitely really cool experiences.
Yeah, the job is not finished.
Yeah, job's not done. I mean, tell us a bit more about how you guys came together as a team. My understanding is you guys were pretty early on Hyperliquid, like us, and tell us, how did it evolve, and how did Hyperswap come to where it is now?
Yeah, maybe I can go ahead with this one. So basically, at the time I've met Ryzed, that was during the COVID episode, and I was doing some live streams, and I was asking for microphones references, and he came to me, spoke with me, and he just gave me some advice on what microphone to choose. And from that, we just began to work together, speak together, trade together. And then I've met him in some events in France. I've met the rest of what is the today Hyperswap team. And so, yeah, we've just been hanging around for like 5 years today. And we've been traveling and working together for those 5 past years. And that was maybe during the summer of 2023 that Ryzed came to us and was like, oh guys, there's this new DEX that is building something and they have a point program. Maybe we should start to farm it, because at this time there was like the meta that was to farm the points programs. And we were like, yeah, maybe we can farm it, but what is this DEX and why should we farm it? Because that's basically another DYDX, and maybe that's something like a GMX fork, or I don't know, that's not that serious. And it was like, no, guys, it's really serious. So he was like really into it and was, checking from the beta of Hyperliquid what was happening on the protocol. And yeah, we just got into farming Hyperliquid quite early. And when, at some point, Jeff and the Hyperliquid team announced that they will launch an Hyper EVM, and we were like, oh, that's really nice. But we had the vision of Jeff, the fact that Jeff wanted to, create an AWS service for liquidity. This vision really talked to us, because we were all traders and developers on crypto for a long time. And we were like, oh, this thing can really bring something new to DeFi and to the crypto space. So we just decided to go for an AMM, because that's something that is not that complicated to work with for the beginning of the project I'm in. And so, yeah, we went with a Uniswap fork. We deployed it on the testnet. That was maybe like the first or maybe the second project deployed on the testnet of Hyper EVM. And yeah, that's how Hyperswap kind of began as a project. And we were like, yeah, let's go with this Uniswap fork and let's make something great. And let's, when the precompiles will be up on the mainnet, let's do something that will be like probably a new basics of DeFi, and let's build something new, something interesting, and not just a copycat of any other protocol. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Ryzed is the reason you guys are here today.
Yeah, mainly.
Yeah, I will say that.
Did you use his ref link or not?
No, bro.
Yeah, not even.
Sad story. Back in the days, we just start farming a Hyperliquid, and we were like, I will say like a ton of French guy like on it, because I was talking to everyone you should use. Then I made a thread on Twitter that make ton of statistic, and I didn't even posted a reference link. And I will say like the top KOL in France have discovered Hyperliquid because of my thread and because of me. And I should maybe earn a ton of points, and I didn't. So a bit the sad part of the story. But I would say it's also the fact that why there is so many French guys in Hyperliquid, because we were kind of early, and we have some friends that have big KOL, I would say, and they were pushing also their referral link, so it brings ton of French guys. Yep, that's the story.
But like, yeah, I've noticed that there's tons of French people. I mean, like, is there a special like French Telegram group, or what is it? Because
No,
I
not
think
even.
like you guys are like overrepresented from a country perspective in Hyperliquid.
Yeah, I think that's mostly because the French community has been like quite angry with how is the crypto space looking for the past few years. And when Hyperliquid came, that was like like something like really fresh on the ecosystem, panel of new projects. That was something that was really interesting and innovating. So that they were quite into it. And then there was all this thing about around the point farming and all that, and French people are like crazy about that, or at least at the time. And so I think that the French people are just mad at point systems, and when the project is working very well after that, there's like some kind of crazy cult that is being built. So yeah,
that's amazing. And like, in between you guys farming Hyperliquid, like, what made you like make the sort of the head switch from saying, hey, I just want to farm this protocol and leave, to, hey, I actually want to build on Hyper EVM and I want to contribute to the success of this ecosystem?
Yeah, I can go ahead on this one.
Yep.
We've been working, myself and Poelpe, some, also like project design, marketing strategy for a ton of protocol in French base, and our friends also. And we are, I would say, like living together, and we were like, chatting about all this protocol, how it works, how we can help to push every protocol together, because everyone is working on XYZ protocol. And we were like, okay, we know how everything works. We have the skills, we have the tech skills, the marketing skills, the design skills, communication. We have everything together. And we're like, this time we will not just be part of protocol of someone, and we will just like build on a new chain that we trust since so many months, because we trusted Hyperliquid since so many months. It was like no-brainer to just be, okay, guys, let's stop to work with other projects and work for them, and just let's build together and work for us. That was, just a no-brainer to switch in.
Yeah, that's amazing. And like, was it super exciting for the team? Because I guess then you guys were always doing stuff for other teams, and now it was actually your own thing, right? And I think it's really evident in sort of the amount of effort and sort of how big the community is that you guys have built up yourself. I think people can really see that, and that's why Hyperswap is so big already.
I will say that also a fact that we were kind of early, I would say, on the Hyperliquid, even OG, we can say that. It's really helped to build the trust, and we tried to be transparent on everything, and to really, deliver some features. And I will say that people like Hyperswap, because every time they get feedbacks or they want something, we're trying to ship it as fast as possible. So I will say that we are trying, as much as possible to follow the Hyperliquid ethos, and to not talk a lot, not to be the reply guys, but just to follow path, stick to the vision, and really deliver feature on feature and feature, and try to improve the product every time, try to onboard every other project like we did with the ecosystem point program, and try to make, I would say, the whole chain growth. And I would say it's because it's why people are following us.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think a common question people have around like DEXs, and with Hyperliquid being like a spot DEX plus post DEX, is like, what is the role of a protocol like Hyperswap when some people say all liquidations will happen right via Hypercore, and like people say the value of a DEX is diminished? What's your like opinion and thought process on that, and how would you explain that to people?
That's my favorite question.
You want to go ahead or?
Oh yeah, we go with this one.
Okay.
The fact that people are misleaded in what is the difference between a DEX and an AMM is like really something that we have been concerned with at the beginning of the project, to be honest, because that was something that people couldn't understand. They were like, why the fuck are you building an AMM where, you know, the chain is built by a DEX? There's no point in doing that and everything. But I think that the first thing that people don't understand is the vision that the Hyperliquid team have. The point of Hyper EVM is to build a liquidity layer that could be used by the whole crypto ecosystem. And the fact that the precompilers are, you know, allowing us to tap on the other book's liquidity from the EVM is something that we've never seen before, and something that opens so many doors. Like we can just imagine in the future that Hyper EVM will have the best efficiency for swaps, because we would be able to tap on the other book's liquidity as well as all pool liquidity. So that would be the best efficiency that you've never seen in crypto outside of SEX and DEXs, obviously, because the other books are still other books. But that's something that, you know, probably a lot of people have some issues to imagine, because that's a long-term vision and something that is not done yet. So there's still a lot of work to do around that, but that's something really interesting. And the second point is that an AMM is like one of the core, you know, features of a chain, whatever the chain is, whatever the ecosystem is. You always need an AMM for the EVM to work, because that's the place where liquidations can be processed. That's the place where people that bridge in will swap, and that doesn't matter if there's a DEX behind it, behind the chain. That's just the UX of a user that have to come on the chain, then bridge on the hypercore, then swap, then bridge back to the EVM. That's really not a good UX. So the AMM will always be used only for that, and as well by the other projects, because that's, you know, a great liquidation engine, even though it's not that optimized compared to another book. But yeah.
I will add also that our vision at Hyperswap, it's that Hyperliquid, we show Hyperliquid like really like Binance on chain. And it's a no-brainer to think that, you know, the auction for the spot and next the auction for the perps will be like kind of really, really expensive. We already some ticker like bought for 500K, which is for a ton of project, a ton of team, impossible to buy because it's just so expensive. And we really see Hyperswap as the first steps to be on Hyperliquid, to launch some things for the community that already use Hyperliquid, and to then like work to be on the other book. We already see that, you know, with All White Buddy, with Rub. But yep, we really see Hyperswap as the first step, because we already see that Hyper EVM, the token All White Buddy and Rub that launching on Hyperliquid, and the swap are not really efficient, I will say, on Hyperliquid for token like Rub and All White Buddy. It's more efficient to do a swap on Hyperswap because there is so many liquidity on the pool that it's not really achievable right now on the book. So when Uniswap created the AMM model, it's because there is a lack of inefficiency of another book, and it's still present. Other book is still the most powerful, but it's not for every token. And we know that a lot of tokens want to launch, a lot of projects want to launch, and they can just buy the ticker. So we will be the first step to Hyperliquid, and we want the community that is part of Hyperliquid, that will use HyperEVM to also access to all this token, this protocol. And there is so much stuff to do more than an AMM that we want to do, that AMM is just, I would say, the first step of an ecosystem that we want to build with Hyperswap. So yeah, I also made like a thread past in the day, I would say in December or November 2024, like doing a schema between Binance Smart Chain, and PancakeSwap. And on the opposite, there is like Hyperliquid, HyperEVM, and Hyperswap. So basically, you can picture that like that. And there is still a need for project. There is still a need for users that prefer to use an AMM. There is still a need at the end. And we just want to focus to be the first step to go on the order book, and the first step for people that already know to use a DEX. They know the front end, they know the basics. And then our goal is to be linked with the hypercore, with the pre-compile, and to make everything efficient. But
that makes a ton of sense. So would you guys say, like, for somebody new coming into the ecosystem, how they can think about it is, like, let's say they're trading on HPump, right? Like HPump graduates in some ways, or in a sense, to Hyperswap. From Hyperswap, it grows, and the ultimate sort of sex listing, like you would in the traditional sense on another chain, like you'd get listed on Binance or Coinbase, or whatever. In this scenario, that ultimate step for a token is being on the Hypercore spot order book.
Yeah, I will say that. Like, I really want to think as Hyperliquid as Binance. I really want to Hyperliquid be the Binance on chain. And when we have a project that buy a ticker on Hyperliquid, it's like, wow, most leverage, marketing powerful as possible. Like, everyone is going crazy because it will be listed on Hyperliquid, like people were crazy back in the day on Binance. And all these projects before being listing, they were somewhere, and they were on AMM, or they were kinda too big that they will launch directly on several centralized exchange. And we really want to be the place for the newcomers, and then like make them happen or make them listed on Hyperliquid.
Yeah, and if you take the big picture, I think that this thing where you can launch a token, then it bonds on Hyperswap, then it bonds on the Hypercore. That is decentralization, like that is crypto. So just, newcomers are like, they should be interested in what is Hyperliquid doing.
Yeah. And what's your opinion on like the process after that to get listed, to have that pair as tradable on the Perps DEX? So do you think that this mechanism around staking 1 million Hype and then, having it listed on Perps, do you think that's really going to be picked up by the community and someone's going to build a mechanism around that?
Yeah.
Or what's your guys' opinion on that?
Yeah, I think it's the last, in my opinion, is the last step of the core product of Hyperliquid. And not the last steps, but the last big stuff, I will say. And it completes the real, like there is already the auction for the spot. There will be auction for the perps. It make it fair for everyone. All people in the community can participate. I've already been in touch with some project that will create a community, like a community mechanism to list the perp. I'm thinking about Qwerty Labs, if I remember well. And this guy want to build something community oriented to make the community choose which perp gonna be listed. I also think that Shoko is building something, and we know that he's very strong guys and very skilled guys, so he will definitely work with it. And I also see some thread about guys outside of the ecosystem thinking that they will try to make some perps listing with their like client, user, etc. So I definitely think it's like really big for Hyperliquid, and that definitely the best stuff to launch after the spot auction. And yeah, I'm very bullish on that. I think that 1 million, it's kind of crazy expensive, but it also like gatekeep for every malicious behavior on the chain, and that's what we want. We remember the Jelly episode, so it's definitely something pretty good to gatekeep a bit everything, to make it at least fair, but also gatekeep. So yeah, I think it's definitely a good choice. They also added something that you can like list perp, and you are not, I would say, mandatory using like the USDC. You can use Bitcoin, so we can imagine a ton of different perp and a ton of different, I would say, perp strategies. And yeah, I'm really bullish on that. Poelpe, maybe you want to add something.
Yeah, no, you've said everything.
Yeah. In my head, I see that natural progression from like HPump, Hyperswap, Hypercore, Perps, right? That would be sort of the ultimate thing for a token to have. And I guess like, you guys are obviously like in the weeds, and you guys are like speaking to all the users every single day. What are you guys noticing from like a trend perspective, that something that's emerging on Hyper EVM, and something you guys want to sort of capitalize, or you think is a big opportunity in the ecosystem?
I will say that the big opportunity right now, it's just Hyper EVM, because it's like the beginning, it's kind of early. So we have to be like, to be strong on our core MM product to be the number one. But I also think that there is a ton of people outside of Hyperliquid that they don't really know the chain. So there is a ton of work to do to bring these guys on, I would say, Hyper EVM, to make like them switch from another chain to come on Hyper EVM, because it's definitely the best chain right now. And I'm maybe gonna be aware of the question. Sorry, can you remind me the question?
Yeah, like I just want to see, for all of us as builders, we can see trends emerging right before anyone else. So what trends are you guys seeing that you think is a huge opportunity, and maybe how is Hyperswap capitalizing on that?
Okay, I would say like pre-compile, because there is a ton of people that's using Hyperswap just because of the front end, because I would say on other chain they use NEMM, so they know how to do the swap. Poelpe already talked about that, but there is definitely a smarter engine that we are building to have the best code, the best routing, and also directly tap on the Hypercore, because we know that there is a ton of users that just want to swap on Hyperswap, and they don't, I would say, really like the UI UX of Hyperliquid. So there is definitely a need on this point, and it's like just, I would say, pre-compile is definitely the glue between everything.
I think that overall the biggest opportunity is that people still don't grasp what is Hyperliquid and the Hyperliquidity going to, allow other projects and how the chains, even if they connect to Hyper EVM, to do. Like, the people are still not understanding what is the vision of the Hyperliquid team, in my opinion. I think that most of them are like, yeah, that's another EVM. Yeah, okay. What's next? What's different? And I think that's the biggest opportunity, because you can imagine a lot of stuff and a lot of projects and products that would be working amazingly well and way better on Hyper EVM with the precompiles, the right precompiles, and even the red precompiles than on any other chain. And that's what I think is the biggest opportunity to grasp right now. Because if you understand that, you already know what is going to be, the big projects of Hyper EVM, and you can just follow what the builders are doing and saying about this vision. And if the builders you're following and the projects you're following understands this vision, I think that you're in the right place.
Yeah. So like on that question around the routing, right? So, if I'm a Hyper EVM user and I just want the best liquidity for Buddy, right? Now, obviously Buddy's on Hypercore, but it's also on Hyper EVM. So are you guys saying, I'm just trying to like make this simple for listeners, but are you saying that via one front end, let's say Hyperswap, if the best liquidity for Buddy is via Hypercore, you guys would actually bridge / move that over to Hypercore, sell it, bring it back, and give it back to the user? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like you can imagine that as an aggregator to sum it up. Like basically, you can imagine that you have 10K USD that you want to swap into Buddy, and you go to Hyperswap because you own the EVM, and you're just putting your 10K, and you've seen that you have a lot of slippage on the pool because that's not quite liquid and everything. Yeah, so what we're planning to do is that we're going to use 100% of the liquidity in our pools that is efficient, like the best efficiency possible. And as soon as the swap size became too big, we would like swap it on the hypercore on the other books and then bring it back to the user so they have the best efficiency as possible. And I think that with this mechanism, we have the best efficiency around all the crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, that's really bullish. But how long would that take for a user, right? Does that still happen in the same amount of time?
That is the biggest question yet. We are working on it on the testnet, and it should be almost seamless, to be honest, on what we've seen from now. But there's still a lot of tests to do, and still the live tests are always different than the testnet ones, obviously. And we still have to figure out a lot of things. We also have to see all those orders are going to be rewarded for the projects that push them, because obviously we don't want to say to the people that are deploying liquidity on Hyperswap, oh yeah, there's some part of our volume that won't be given to you guys into fees. So we want to see if we will be able to take some fees from the spot orders that we have to make it through the other books, and reward the LPS with these fees. So there's a lot still of things that we have to dig in and get some resources about, because we're still not 100% sure of how is this going to work.
I just want to add for the listeners that the example right now on Buddy, it's not really relevant, because right now if you want to swap Buddy, it will be more efficient with liquidity pool, but it could happen for, if you want to create concrete example, it will be for other token, maybe Fartcoin, which is not, I would say, not really deep on a Hyperswap right now. If you want to swap for Fartcoin, maybe 200K, on this example, we can directly tap a portion of the swap directly on the order books and to make it coming back. So everything will be seamless. But as Put mentioned, we're on test right now. There's a ton of stuff to do. We want to manage the fees to still reward the liquidity providers. And there's job is not finished, in short.
Yeah. Would it be possible? So I'm thinking out loud here, but basically, let's say you do whatever swap you can do through Hyperswap, and then with your remainder amount, you actually submit a transaction via builder codes where you can actually charge an additional fee. And then you essentially take that additional fee you're getting from builder codes, reward that back to LPs. Yeah. And in that way, the LPs don't lose out on the fees.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Bullish. Great. No, that's good. I think, bigger picture, right? As you said, Paul, you think that no other chain can compete with the level of liquidity that any given token would have, once this type of mechanism is live? Are you saying that all liquidity eventually will get sucked into Hyperliquid, assuming, right, the team just continues to execute like it is?
Yeah, that's a long-term vision, but at some point you also have to make the connections between the chains, like the cross-chain and interoperability of the chain will be a major thing that maybe Hyperliquid or maybe the HyperEVM ecosystem has to achieve. I don't know who's in charge of this part, to be honest. I don't know at the moment, but probably that will be something really important, because we have to, if we have the best efficiency for swaps, for lending markets and everything, that is something that we have to export to other chains, obviously, because that is market shares that the HyperEVM can take, obviously without any problem, because the product is better. So that's really important for the ecosystem to do this. But I don't know who will be leading the charge on this particular point.
Mm-hmm. So that sort of goes to the next question around user onboarding. Would you guys say that the current flow and journey for a user to get onto HyperEVM, what would you rate it out of 10?
Wow.
I would be probably harsh on the note, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that's really bad right now.
I will say that there is some bridge since a few weeks that are coming. So I would say it's easier than in the beginning. But for most, I would say like ticket open on our Discord, it's mostly people that want to buy a token on Hyperswap, and they are asking us, "Oh, I'm on Hyperliquid, I don't know, or I can bridge my USDC directly on HyperEVM and to buy a token." And we're like, "Oh no, you can use USDC. You will have to buy Hype, then bring Hype on a HyperEVM, then use Hype to buy your token. And then if you want to back on stablecoin, use USDT0 or FUSD or USDXL or USDE, because there is no USDC, even if it's on Hyperliquid." So there is kind of confusion for, I would say, newcomers, but we are working on that aspect, to be honest, to have a direct link directly on Hyperswap. We already have a bridge section, but I will say it's kind of the basics. You click and you can bridge any asset directly on HyperEVM, but we are working on a seamless way to fetch any token on any chain that you have and to make directly the bridge and the swap in one transaction directly on Hyperswap. That's something we are working on right now.
Yeah, and I think one thing that is kind of slowing down the adoption of HyperEVM is the fact that we have a lot of bridge to bridge in, but we don't have bridges to bridge out of the chain. And that is something that is really, really misleading for newcomers of the chain.
Yeah. And what do you guys think is the solution here? Because, I was actually speaking to someone that was interested in Hyperbeat. So it's like it's a friend in real life that has never touched crypto. And, I started like taking him through the journey. Hey, download Rabby, save your seed phrase, move funds from your centralized exchange to your wallet. And then basically from there, I realized like we're already at step 20. I'm like, no, man, like now I need to explain to the guy, okay, you need to go into Arbitrum, and Arbitrum is an L2 on an L1. And this is what an L1 is. And Hyperliquid is like sort of not connected to Arbitrum, but it is connected to Arbitrum. And like, I think I just realized at that point, like, this is just really bad. And we can't possibly house all of finance if that is the current flow. So like, what do you guys think is the solution there? Like, what are some actionable things that can be done by the community, but then also obviously the Hyperliquid team to change this?
I will say that on the Hyperswap part, we are working on something that we will bring user with credit card, bank account, wise bank transfer to make them buy any token on Hyperswap directly. So it's something that we will release at the end of June. So we are doing this part of the job, but I would say that community on HyperEVM is quite strong, and there is a ton of people trying to educate newcomers. At least it remains crypto, so there's still a ton of steps to do if you want to come on the chain. It's still a high barriers entry for the crypto ecosystem. Most people are trying to bring people outside of crypto by educate them. That's the job of the committee. I would say that they are doing well, but it's just a matter of time. Like more people educate more people, that they will educate more people. And there is also a part from the project, like we try to do, like the feature we will release in late June. It's also the job of, I would say, project to try to onboard people on their project like easily as possible.
Yeah, I agree with what he's saying, Ryzed, but I think that at some point we also need a wallet for the HyperEVM, because if we wish to become like the next Solana, that is quite what the people are saying about Hyperliquid right now. I think that we need an easy tool to onboard everyone, because obviously we as a project can, introduce like on-ramp, off-ramp solutions. We can introduce email connections with Privy and things like that to create a wallet seamlessly and everything. But I think that what was the biggest solution for Solana when the growth was like really going crazy, that was the fact that they had Phantom, that was the Solana wallet, and everyone knew about Phantom. Even the people, the American stars that launched meme coins on Solana that were quite not educated in crypto, they also knew about Phantom and how to use it and how to guide people on Phantom. So I think we maybe needed something like that as well on the Hyperliquid side. Maybe that would be the job of the Hyperliquid team itself. Maybe that would be something that the community will create at some point. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of work to do on the onboarding part.
Yeah, totally agree. I think I'm not even sure if Phantom was only a Solana wallet at the start, or weren't they like, I know they also support Ethereum and other chains, but was their first sort of endeavor into wallets, was it on Solana, or did they pivot from somewhere else?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't even know. But I will say that right now, for everyone, like Phantom is the wallet on Solana. So
yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, because we've seen like it's been like 3 months that the HyperEVM is live, and we've seen like Rabbit just started to account on what is happening on HyperEVM on the wallet. And on the MetaMask side, we had issues with processing transactions like last week. So that is something that is a bit slowing down the adoption of the chain, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely agree there. So, back to Hyperswap, right? What's next for you guys? What are some of the most exciting features that you guys plan to launch, and what should people look forward to for you guys?
We want to really improve the code, I will say the swap stuff on Hyperswap. We know that there is a ton of people that come on the front end and tell us, oh, I don't have the best routing right now on Hyperswap, but I still want to use Hyperswap and I don't want to go on an aggregator or whatever. So that's something we're really working hard right now to offer people like the best routing stuff as if they were on aggregators. So we have a smart order engine that will come. It also will come with limit orders, DCA, TPSL, multi-token swap. That's a core feature of Hyperswap that will come, I would say, even pretty soon, to be honest. And then we really want to build Hyperswap as an ecosystem. So there is product not directly linked with the IMM, but that we will launch. And the goal is to create, many products that will be they will be used for the Hyperswap user, branded by Hyperswap. And we want to use the community that we already get to make them use this product. And at the end of the flywheel is to just use the fee from their other protocol to just buy back the token and to follow, the Hyperliquid ethos on the buyback. So that's really something we are working on right now.
Yeah, and there's also the long-term vision I was talking about earlier, with the fact that we want to go with, the Hyper BFT and follow what is Hyperliquid like providing to the HyperEVM in terms of liquidity solutions and features in the chain itself. And yeah, obviously we have also this vision of expanding Hyperswap into something that could be used by the whole crypto ecosystem and not only HyperEVM, but that's way long term in terms of vision.
Yeah, I would say that we know that from past years, people were just using mobile because of Solana, Mimcoin, rally season, call it whatever you want. And there is a ton of guys that are like, we need something on mobile. So we are also like working on maybe doing something like a mobile app to onboard more people. It's still something that takes time to build, but it's definitely on the back. And just trying.
What's your opinion on mobile trading happening through Telegram versus a direct app versus you open up Safari or Google Chrome, connect your Phantom wallet and like trade there? Where do you think most people actually want to trade from?
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that we are fucking old. Not in the age, but we've been there during the COVID and even earlier. So we used to use only, the laptop to do everything. But we have a ton of people. Canada, we not discovered it, but we were not thinking there's so many guys that are just using their mobile for do everything. And every time they are like, oh, I'm on MetaMask application going on a Hyperswap and it's laggy, it's not the best, etc. Blah, blah, blah. So I will say that for OG, they are using the laptop. But for the newcomers, they are using the smartphone or Telegram. So we have to think about like communities evolving, and the newcomer are not using crypto like we are doing, and we just have to adapt,
Yeah, that was what I was about to say. I was saying that, I don't know where people want to, interact with blockchains, but I know where they are interacting with blockchains, because obviously we're seeing what is done and what is working. Like, for an example, when the guys from PvP Trade launched a Telegram bot based on Hyperliquid, to be honest, I was like, that will not work. No way I'm using a Telegram bot to trade while I have one of the best dexes with the best UX I've seen in ages on crypto. And yeah, that they made like their app is a killer app, and they probably are one of the biggest protocol on HyperEVM, or at least in the Hyperliquid ecosystem right now, because they're not yet on the HyperEVM if I remember well. But yeah, I think that at some point we have to adapt with what is working and where people are interacting with blockchains. And so, yeah, I think there's a need for a mobile app, or at least a mobile interface that is, really designed for mobile. But yeah, that's not something I was personally like interested in, to be honest.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, depends where you would personally want to trade, and you would sort of build accordingly. I know for myself, like I personally use Telegram bots a lot. It's just a lot faster. And it goes back to that question, like I'm currently paying 1% transaction fee per swap, right? Which seems insane, but for me to have the ability to do it through Telegram, and I know that my transaction is going to land, and I don't have to wait for like, signing twice on Rabby, I'm willing to pay that 1%, right? And so are many, many other users, right? I think some of the most profitable products in crypto trading, especially on Solana, are Telegram bots, right? So it is interesting because, like, some people might argue it's not worth building an application like a phone app, but then you have something like Moonshot that actually got major adoption, right? So it really depends, but I think it's still an open canvas to build.
Yeah, I totally agree. On my opinion, I'm not really using my mobile, but maybe I'm too old in the space. But people are just using the mobile, and I start to understand why.
I think for us, like what I've because I've thought about it a lot, and I think for OGs and like people that have been around, it almost feels dangerous to trade on your phone and to have like lots of money on a wall.
Clearly.
And that's the thing, right? Because we know like our phone goes with us everywhere, and we know the risk of like, someone could like you scan your face and then like send in the crypto if they know you have money. But like for somebody that's new, they would most likely discover it either through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, some random channel like that. And then they would probably be on their phone, because people don't just like chill on Instagram on their laptop, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where us as like older crypto people, not like old in age, but just like in time spent in the industry, we get used to our own security practices and then sort of impose that opinion on new users, when most new users get familiar with something through social media, which happens on their phone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But people are just using their mobile. They discovered everything on mobile, and they don't want to switch to laptop. They want to keep staying on their sofa, chilling, and using their mobile. And they also don't want to have to sign, like you mentioned, 2TX on Rabby. Even if they pay like 1% more for every transaction, they agree to do it because it's faster. And it just the lazy guys, I will say, like the lazy mentality, not really lazy, but you understand what I mean, to just stay on that, accept to pay more fees to make everything easier, I will say. So yeah, definitely we have to adapt, and that's something we are working on. So, and at the end, if we also had this 1% fees on the mobile, it will also goes to buyback. So at the end, for the guys that are on laptop, it will be the benefit because it will go to the buyback for the swap token. So.
Yeah. So one question I was interested in your opinion on was around what happened, for example, on Solana with Pump and then Pump Swap, right? So we have, in some ways, a similar setup on Hyper EVM and Hyperliquid, where you have HFund and HPump, and you have like liquid swap, and you have these communities that are building up. Do you guys think, like, let's use like Hyperfund and Lorical, for example, do you guys think that he would down the line launch his own DEX to capture all of those flows? Or like, what do you guys think about that? Because it is a real risk down the line. And how do you think Hyperswap should think about that, and the users should think about it?
Yeah, I would say that it's a risk, because we see the beef with Radium and Pump Fund. And right now, Radium is doing this on Pump Fund, and Pump Fund have its Pump Swap. So it's something that can happen on a Hyper EVM. I would say that right now is not really a risk right now at the moment, because there is not too much token that are bonding. There is a lot, but there is not too much, or at least they are not. When they bond on Hyperswap, they are not running a lot. So they just, I will say, like more than 80% just crash in 1 hour. So there is no, I will say, volume to attract for this app right now. Maybe in the future, if it's kind of the same as meme coin season that happened on Solana, maybe they will be attracted to build their own IMM and to have all the attractions directly on their app. So maybe also in the future we'll do Radium and launch a Pump Fund. That's not on our plans right now, because I would say that Loracle is doing a great job. Liquid Launch is also doing a great job. So there is no emergency to step on their toes. And maybe I would say too much optimistic about the EVM, but I think that there is not a lot of projects that want to step on the toes of other projects that are performing well. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I have quite the same opinion. I'm like, if we have to fight about some market share, it has to be worth it, and I don't think that it's worth it at the moment. And if someone comes up with a Pump Fund and wants to develop his own DEX, then go ahead. I don't think that at the moment that's something we should be aware of. And probably if that takes a lot of the volume and the market share of Hyperliquid, the Hyper EVM, I mean, maybe we will have to move forward. But that's the beginning of the chain, and I don't think we have so much concern about that at the moment.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
I also think that Liquid Launch take a great decision to launch their aggregators, because they can have the best part of having an AMM, but you don't have the liquidity to manage. You don't have to attract liquidity, etc., to still performing fees through the swap and to still have the Pump Fund part. So maybe they did the right choice by doing this, and it also maybe showcase that they don't want to step on other DEX on Hyper EVM toes, I would say. And
yeah, makes sense. So typically we end off our podcast with some bull posting. So wanted to ask your opinion on where do you think the high price goes by the end of the year, and if we zoom out maybe 2 to 3 years from now, how big do you think Hyperliquid could actually get? Because there's so many ways in which it can grow. I'm interested in your bull post and your price targets.
My realistic price target is $89. I'll say why, because I have a PTSD of DYDX. GMX. I buy the token at maybe $3, and I say it will go to $100, and it didn't. It goes to 89. So I feel like I will sell a bit at 89, but it's just about the PTSD. But right now I'm holding all my stack, to be honest, and I'm pretty sure that it will go higher than $100. Maybe 110, 120. It also depends on what about the spot listings in centralized exchange. We know that it's like a big pump every time, so it also depends on that. But I would say at least 100, 110.
Yeah,
that's
bullish.
probably what I'm going to say as well, because we've been talking about the vision of Hyperliquid and the Hyper EVM as a whole for like the whole interview. And if you believe into that, I think that you must probably prepare yourself to go way higher than what the price is today.
Yeah.
I don't say that's going to happen, but if the vision does happen, I think that the price will follow, like, obviously.
Do you guys think Hyperliquid becomes bigger than Terra at its peak?
I don't know. That's tricky.
I would say that Hype can go on top 10 easily. And in, I would say, bullish market, they can go like fucking crazy high. I will say, because people outside of the ecosystem understand, like, have a big vision of their revenue, how they want to do, like how they use the revenue to think about a price of a token. And I think like definitely enter of the top 10, it's really easy for Hype, and yeah, much higher. Let's go higher.
Let's go higher. Higher liquid. There
Higher.
we go. All right. So thanks so much to Ryzed and Paul for joining the HyperPod today. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Likewise, buddy. Thanks for
Yeah,
the,
likewise. Thank you.
it was really cool.
Thanks, bud.
Shout out also to the whole Hyperbit team. We've been talking a lot together. I will say that I'm kind of friends with Hatashi. I really like you guys. That's cool to work with you. So like, shout out to the team.
Yeah, so likewise for you guys. And our team's also full of French people. So the French cabal is forming. But yeah, it's been great to have you on, and you guys must have a good one. Cheers.
Cheers.